Hey everybody, if you can hear me now, let me know because as you can see, I'm live at the Senior Bowl. Here we go. All-Star Road Trip, 18 years, kicking off once again. We are live on the Audible. Everyone give me the thumbs up in the chat room if you can hear me. I think you should be able to, so let's do that. Of course, here in Mobile, Alabama is where I'm live. I just got back from Frisco, Texas. And of course, the Shrine Bowl was there. We've got some Shrine Bowl sleepers to go over in this show. Now, there wasn't any quarterbacks there. Unfortunately, I was really excited to go into Texas and see Devin Leary, the Kentucky kid. And he popped in terms of arm elasticity and the fact that he could just whip it and sling that ball. But where it's going was a problem sometimes. And it's that type of stuff where, okay, any quarterback I saw, I know I had people asking, like, who's this year's Brock Purdy? There's no this year's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's not supposed to happen. 2 years ago, I saw Brock Purdy at the Shrine Bowl, and he said, hey, I think I'm done. I think I'm done playing. And now he's in the Super Bowl. So away we go with this. Like, as you can see, practice going on behind me, so I will get to it. I think Sigmund popped in there, so apologies for all this. Sigmund, are you there? Let's see. Yeah. I think we've got you. Yeah, let's do this thing, baby. Let's go. Change the view on it too, by the way, because I'm on my phone right now. This is a live show, everybody. This is how we get it done. But either way, last week I didn't see, or just over the weekend, I should say, I didn't see anybody at quarterback that was there. So Bloom, just run through. You don't have to give me the names. I've got the rosters from the Shrine game in front of me. Just run through any of your thoughts on the positions. I kind of brought up quarterback. There wasn't a lot to say because Devin Leary was the guy I was looking forward to last week, Kentucky kid, and he just didn't do much of anything. So if you want to take it away and get me through running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, we could talk a little championship game. We can wrap up the show, and I can get back to practice.
Yeah. Well, Cecil, I'll actually toss it back to you on the Shrine Bowl since you were there and I was not, and ask you, last year at the Shrine Bowl, we went to the Shrine game 18 years ago, and I think Dwayne Brown was the only first rounder we saw, and it was a bit of a surprise. It was not a surprise that Zay Flowers from the game last year went in the first round, and he was obviously one of the players that left the largest impression, both positive and negative. He's on his way. Was there anybody who stood out at the Shrine Bowl this year as a potential first rounder, or just a sign of the quality of talent that Eric Galco is getting there?
Yeah, no first rounders this year, unfortunately. And we love Galco. He does a fantastic job there. And the Shrine Bowl is better run than the Senior Bowl. Sorry, I hope they don't kick me out for saying that. But, like, just from a game standpoint, like, it's more scout-friendly. It's more media-friendly. It's a more well-run game. We just didn't see the talent there that we have even the last 2 years, where I've gotten to see the Isiah Pachecos, I've gotten to see the Brock Purdys, like that type of stuff. That sort of talent wasn't there at any position. Now, there's other positions, non-skills, that we won't really get into on this show because we're supposed to do fantasy football. But, like, yeah, there's no first-rounders there this year. And, away we go. But still important players. And, by the way, some Matt Waldman favorites that I was texting with Matt about over the last couple of days.
Well, we'll move on to running back. And I guess under the heading of we're getting old, of course, we have to mention Frank Gore Jr., but you mentioned Isiah Pacheco, and I would just toss it to you that way because this isn't a great running back class. I think whenever it's time for folks to do their rookie drafts or their redraft later in the summer, they're going to see there's not a Bijan Robinson, there's not a Jahmyr Gibbs, there's not really an instant impact running back, but you mentioned Isiah Pacheco, so we're seeing now running backs with that third day pedigree can still make an impact early in their career. Anybody that fits the bill from this year's class?
Blake Watson, Memphis running back. How many Memphis running backs are in the league, by the way?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, they're all over.
I remember somebody was saying about Patrick Taylor because he got a little bit of playing time at the end of the year. Who's Patrick Taylor? And I said, just the guy that kept Antonio Gibson and Tony Pollard on the bench at Memphis.
Exactly. So I believe there's like 5 Memphis running backs in this league. Okay. Blake Watson's going to be that next Memphis running back. So he looked fantastic as both a runner and receiver out of the backfield. I did tell Matt, because guess what? He's a Matt Waldman favorite. Okay, so when you say Blake Watson, Matt Waldman favorite, boom, that's done and done. Wrap it up, because he's a full-skilled, all three down sorts of back. Pass protection is an issue. He's got to clean up. Of course, everybody, you can say that about every rookie running back. Watson also was shy to talk to. So, whatever you think about that, I thought it was cool because he's very humble. Right, because we were trying to pump him up, and he was just like, I got a lot to work on. Oh, I gotta work on pass protection. So I like that the guys who, because I did talk to, and I won't name names, Bloom, but I did talk to some players who I'm the best in this draft, and it was difficult. I don't want to be mean, but it was difficult to just be like, dude, come on, you're not gonna get drafted. But with you see with Watson, he's a guy that is very humble, very down to earth, very grounded, in addition to what he can do on the field, which is pretty much everything. Doesn't need to come off the field. And if there's one thing I know, it's get you a Memphis running back. I also got to talk about the Monmouth kid. And I got to make sure I find him here. Sorry for the camera angle, everybody. We're doing this one on the road. But I thought the Monmouth kid popped on the third day, which is funny because we're always looking for those day one stars. And then you see who pops on the third day and see who, kind of comes out there as far as at the end of things when it goes. Jaden Sheridan. Here it is. Jaden Sheridan, West team. Jaden Sheridan did a really good job on that final day. And he also has a jump cut that's very elusive. Jaden also very good to talk to, and a player that is probably going to be undrafted. But again, undrafted players can still make big plays. So Jaden Sheridan, kind of a final day splash. You saw Watson splash the entire time that I was there at the Shrine Bowl. So those are the two running backs that stood out to me.
When we look over the wide receivers and you're looking for a familiar name, we're used to now seeing a lot of the players we watched and their sons making their impact or trying to make their impact in the NFL. Sometimes coaches' sons. Drake Stoops, you may recognize the name from Oklahoma coaching legend Bob Stoops. Other than Stoops, there might not be names that people recognize. Who are the names that they need to know?
David White, Western Carolina, looked like A.T. Perry. Saw A.T. Perry at that game last year. David White immediately pops the first day, length and speed, my ball mentality. He did it. He did it the second day. He did it the day after that. David White is a baller. And what I love is at the Shrine game, Bloom, while there was no first rounders there, there's always that tinge of desperation. Because it's guys that are on the crucible of, like Brock Purdy said 2 years ago to me, I think I'm done playing. He said that 2 years ago. Blanky Blank is in the Super Bowl. Sorry, Joe. But it's okay, David White, Western Carolina. I had zero film study on him. I show up, he pops. You know what I'm doing? I'm trying to get as much Western Carolina film as I can because this guy can make plays like an A.T. Perry, like a Tim Patrick, that sort of player, rip it out of the air, strength, circus catches, etc. But he wasn't the only one. Wide receivers was the most impressive position from a skill position standpoint down there in Frisco, Texas. Just looking down further at the wide receivers, I got to tell you about Taj Washington. Lots of Washingtons. Malik Washington and Taj Washington will be the next two that I talk about. Taj Washington from USC, smaller, water bug receiver, as you like to say, Bloom. Absolutely fantastic in terms of explosion. You can use him in multiple ways, end arounds, screen passes, deep passes as well. He's got good ball tracking ability. You don't always see that from the little guys. So Taj Washington was there. Malik Washington, Virginia kid. Taj Washington from USC. Malik Washington from Virginia. Another one of those route runner specialists. So maybe not the fastest guy, maybe not the strongest guy, but already knew how to cut a rug. And you can tell the guys who are ready for these all-star games. It's a great thing about these practices. It's I hear at the Senior Bowl, it's not going to take long to see who jumps and who pops because the guys that have been preparing, the guys that know how to run routes like Malik Washington can get open. And that's what he did regularly down there in Frisco, Texas.
Yeah, we turn the page to tight ends, and this was another year that reminded us that the old rules about tight ends making an impact in their rookie year are no longer applicable And one of the players, at least for a brief time, made an impact was Tucker Kraft, who was the second player ever from South Dakota State to go in the top 100. Dallas Goedert being the first. Maybe not top 100. Will there be at least a third South Dakota State tight end? At this game, we saw Zach Hines, maybe more recognizable college position combination than a name. What about the rest of the names, and will we see that South Dakota State tight end streak continue?
Well, he didn't pop as much at the Shrine Bowl as I was expecting him to, and I think there were 4 or 5 Jackrabbits down there. So, representing South Dakota State very well, but I don't believe so. There's 2 tight ends that splashed for me. One, Dallin Holker from CSU. We know that he was a red zone threat. He didn't really have a greatest week in terms of blocking, but as a receiver, the threat is there. Now, he wants to be known as a blocker. He's just got a lot of work to do there. So Dallin Holker, put a pin in it. You probably saw his stock level off, I would say. With a good game, we could have been talking about him as a third-round pick. He's no Trey McBride, but we could have been talking about him as a third-rounder. Now he'll be more of a value pick as, let's say, day 3, somewhere 4 to 7. I'd push that more towards 7. And then McAllen Castles from Tennessee, he's really just beginning to hit his stride, I think, because he is a receiving weapon. He was doing well, and drills as a blocker. Again, drills, it's just practice. This doesn't mean everything, but it doesn't mean nothing. Everything means something. So McAllen Castles, a player that's just starting, tip of the iceberg type of stuff, very humble, very bright, and a player that could be in line to do a little bit more super deep, crazy dynasty. I'm always looking for guys like that, guys that got some size, got some receiving ability. He's most certainly a Y, no doubt. But he said, in talking to him a couple of days ago, he's like, I want to show I can be an F too. So I got that backwards. He's an F. He wants to show that he's a Y. He wants to show that he can block. So McAllen Castles, the kid from Tennessee, did a good job there.
Yeah, and you are speaking to us live from Ladd Peebles Stadium in Mobile.
JSA now. It hasn't been at Ladd Peebles in like 2 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hancock Whitney Stadium. I want to get that right, or Jim Nagy will kick me out.
Hancock Whitney, yeah, that's I think the original Hancock Whitney Bank, or one of them is in Bay St. Louis over there along the Gulf Coast. You're right down the Gulf Coast. What's the buzz, Cease? What, if anything, have you picked up on hanging around, waiting for the practices to get underway this morning?
Well, he's not, and practice is underway, so that's why I got to get. But he's not out here right now. But this is going to be the Bo Nix show. Okay, so everybody get ready. Bo Nix, I expect a catapult, rocket-like performance like we saw from Carson Wentz years ago, like we saw from Baker Mayfield years ago. I expect a rocket-like performance this week for Bo Nix. If he does that this week, we're talking top 10 pick. Okay, and in a draft where there's probably going to be 5 taken in the first round, and amongst those 5 will not be Michael Penix. I'm watching Michael Penix right now. So a couple things on Michael Penix. The injuries have teams saying 3rd round, mid-second at best, okay? So, and Penix has first-round tools, but it's not, with those injury history, scouts want to see his work ethic. That's a nice way of saying there's some work ethic concerns. I generally don't like reporting those type of things, Bloom. But when the first thing that I get from evaluators when I talk to them in Dallas is like, hey, Michael Penix, what do you think? Oh, he's lazy. Oh, God. I have to report it now. I have to report it correctly and be like, you want to see, what his work ethic is like. So hopefully he proves everybody wrong and he does everything. He's the best ever, or whatever I have to say. But whereas you thought maybe Penix would be a first rounder, maybe even to 12 to the Broncos, squash that, mid-second at best right now. You can change the narrative, though, at the Senior Bowl. And we'll see things just kicking off. They're just getting through warm-ups. No team drills have been done yet. Bloom, if team drills would be going on, I'd be checked out right now. But, no, it's just a bunch of drills right now, watching practice here as we go on. But this is going to be the Bo Nix show in the next practice. And Bo Nix is out here. If he can do it, man, he could take off. He could be a top 10, maybe top 7 pick. I'm not going to say top 5. But this will be the Bo Nix show. We've seen it before. We might see it again here in Mobile. Once again, I want to know before we're out of here, what do we got, about 6 minutes left? Lions gave that game away, dude.
Yeah, look, if I'm gonna diagnose what happened, I mean, number one, this is like Jim Valvano in NC State Houston, one of the greatest sporting events of all time, basically telling his guys in the locker room they're gonna come back, they're gonna make a run. So I think that Detroit, maybe if there wasn't halftime, if there just wasn't halftime, if they just kept playing the game, I think they would have been in better shape. But it was self-inflicted. The obviously the ball off the face mask. I don't even know what to say. Sometimes the gods test you before they reward you. But I think Dan Campbell going for the field goal instead of the touchdown before halftime betrayed the gods that this team had made a bargain with, because then later on in the game, he went for it on 4th and 3 twice in field goal range. Obviously, the game could have turned out differently if he hadn't. And I think if he just picked a lane and said, we're going to be aggressive no matter what the scoreboard is, maybe it wouldn't have had that letdown in halftime when they came out and they weren't the same team. And you just hope they get back there. But Campbell himself said, hey, it's easy to say we're going to get better, we're going to get back there. But we see lots of teams never get back there.
Yeah, and I like that sense of moment from Dan Campbell, because it's incredibly true, of course. Like, it could be one and done. You never know. Like, you watch what's going on with Jared Goff. Like, still there's still times you need him to be more than Jared Goff, and he's just not. So that's a concern. I honestly didn't think Baltimore would lose. So that was
how many plays
shocker.
they had to. How many self-inflicted wounds did it take for them to lose? Too, like 7,
right.
8, 9. I mean, that's the thing. That's
and some
really
pass interference that wasn't called. I don't want to blame the refs or say Kansas City has the refs in their pocket, because that's dumb. But like, come on, man. Isaiah Likely's getting assaulted out there, and they're just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got to clean that up. NFL's officials have been terrible for years. It's not a Chiefs thing. It's an NFL thing. And it's like they just don't care. You should have full-time officials and hopefully clean up some of this crap.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to what a lot of coaches say, good coaches say at least, is you have to play in a way that make it so the refs can't change the outcome of the game. And Baltimore, between the emotional penalties and the self-inflicted wounds in the red zone, made too many mistakes, even though they were that good. That's what's sad, is they actually showed they are that good, because if they would have flipped any one or two of those plays, they still would have won on a bad afternoon. They would have beaten Kansas City on a bad afternoon when Patrick Mahomes came out. But Cecil, I think that we also are now looking at a new Death Star. There is a new Death Star, and it is in Kansas City. Because much like the Brady Belichick Patriots, they are so used to this high elevation, thin air, high stakes football, and all these other teams are trying to climb the mountaintop, and there isn't a Peyton Manning. There isn't a quarterback who feels as comfortable in those settings yet. Can Lamar Jackson do it? Can Josh Allen do it? Maybe Josh Allen can do it. Joe Burrow does, but can the team come back? We'll see. But I'm afraid we're going to have to just get used to seeing Mahomes in the Super Bowl until someone does something about it.
Well, the Death Star can also self-destruct. Andy Reid, there's plenty of buzz about him retiring if they win. There's plenty of buzz about him retiring if they don't. And if he retires, if Kelsey retires, like, what's Mahomes look like without Andy Reid? We might be fixing to find out.
What does Mahomes look like without Tyreek Hill? The back-to-back Super Bowls.
We'll well, Andy Reid's a little different than Tyreek.
Oh, no doubt.
No offense to receivers, but that's a dependent position.
Yeah. So last question I'll ask, Cease, before I let you start paying attention to what's going on there, paying full attention. Washington, Seattle were waiting. They were waiting, maybe waiting to see who was going to lose this weekend. You see the Baltimore assistants, even Anthony Weaver, getting those phone calls now. Do you expect we're going to hear something soon on one or both of these jobs, or maybe we might wait until after the Super Bowl?
Well, why haven't we? It's Tuesday. What? On a Tuesday? I have to say that because I'm in Alabama. Like, dude, why hasn't Ben Johnson the coach of Washington yet? Everybody expects that to happen. So it's like, I don't think the bloom came off the rose, pun intended, but it's like, okay, it's Tuesday. I thought that was going to be done like Monday morning. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're waiting to see. Teams are taking their time this year, which is weird because it's the God, I wish I could cuss. Joe, let me cuss one time. Please let me cuss one time. It's the Mother Blanken Senior Bowl. Wouldn't it be nice to have your staff here? Wouldn't it be nice to be in line with your scouts and say, this is what your coach is looking for? It's the Mother Blanken Senior Bowl. So, I don't know. It's a mistake if you don't have your coach hired by now.
Yeah, I don't think there are any Kansas City or San Francisco assistants they're waiting on at this point, right? So, I don't know. But I do know that we're going to get all the dispatches from Cecil in Mobile. And I do know that we're going to be with you all off season. And we're going to be back Thursday, Cease? Yeah?
Yeah, Thursday. We'll probably pre-record Wednesday night late, just programming notes. But yeah. We'll have a Senior Bowl recap because by that time I'll have 2 days down and be able to talk about what's going on here. Is it the Bo Nix show or not? That's what everybody's waiting for.
Yeah. Potential franchise-changing, life-changing week in Mobile, and Cecil's going to be there so that we're in the loop. And we're going to keep you in the loop always at Football Guys. We appreciate everybody. Take a little breather. Start to get ready for the big game. It's Mardi Gras down here, too. Laissez le bon temps rouler. It's getting late, later than you think. So enjoy yourself today like we do with you always. Because, well, you're so classy. And we will be seeing you again soon because we love you.